Welcome back. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum and the Boston Athenaeum are showcasing the work of renowned Boston artist Alan Rowan Crite. The institutions have a close connection with the artist and his work. But first, a look back to 1987 in the City Line Vault. An interview with Crite and reporter Ron Allen.
This triple-decker on Columbus Avenue in Boston's South End is the home of painter and art historian Alan Rowan Crite. Crite's home is more than a place to live. It's a museum that houses more than 50 years of the collected works of a legendary artist.
Well, I'm drawing, painting all of my life, and so it's part of my life. So I don't know anything else in a way. So, of course, when I use the term art, I mean, that includes drawing, painting, writing. It's all in one piece. Doesn't mean I have a whole lot of talents, I only have one, but it has different expressions.
Crite was born in Plainfield, New Jersey in 1910, but he has spent the last 76 years of his life in Boston's South End.
My mother's very traditional, as you might say, a typical turn of the century woman. Brought up on the ideas, I mean, very strict ideas about marriage and things in that order. See, I lived a very, very strict life, and my life was very restricted in one way. It's almost monastic in a sense. As of course, I mean, as far as sex is concerned, sex could exist only in the framework of marriage, and then only for procreation, and nothing else. And so I went along with that. Whether I believed it or not, I went along because, I mean, the church was interested in obedience, not so much belief. And out of respect for my parents, I mean, of course, I sort of adhered to this particular business. So I was sort of, you might call a rebellious celibate in a way.
Crite's mother recognized her son's artistic abilities and sacrificed to send him to Boston's Museum School and then on to Harvard University.
You see, I'm interested in communication. I have a story to tell. So I'm a storyteller. So I do it through what you might call art. I don't like the expression in a way, but of course I guess you have to use it. The art is communication. And it's the only thing that makes the human species different than the other animals. That is, in other words, you record the experiences, I mean, and those experiences become part, you might say, of the life of the community as it grows.
Changes in the multicultural South End community over the years are reflected in much of Crite's more familiar work. Much of Crite's work also carries a strong religious theme, and through the years he has completed intricate altar work on churches across New England.
And I don't make any differentiation between so-called religious art and secular art, because as far as I'm concerned, it's all in one piece.
Alan Rowan Crite, Urban Glory, is on display at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. And joining us now is Diana Greenwald, one of the co-curators on this exhibition. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Alan Rowan Crite, more than an artist, we know that. He was a beloved community member. You heard him say in his own words, a storyteller and civic leader who documented the daily life of Black Bostonians. So what made you say now is the time for this retrospective?
You know, it was just kind of digging deep in our archives and learning about Mr. Crite's long relationship to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. He first came to sketch here as a child. He was inspired by the way that the Gardner Museum looks, with these dense hangs of lots and lots of art, when creating his own house museum in the South End that was around during his lifetime. And it just seemed like it was time to give a great Boston artist his due at institutions across the city.
Absolutely. You know, this exhibition we know just opened a few days ago. I mean, there are decades of work here. How did you narrow down what to include in the Gardner Museum's part of this retrospective?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
He made a lot of art. He was drawing all the time. But what we really tried to do is create sections of representative images of what he worked on: the street scenes, the oil paintings from the 1930s and 40s, the religious work that he made for churches all around the Boston area. And then one of my favorites are these whole bodies of works that actually combine the two. So you have these apparitions of Madonnas, on the Green Line, amidst your daily commuters. And for him, it's really telling you that your community is divine, it is holy, and we wanted to kind of have all those threads of his work together.
Absolutely. We're showing some of his beautiful pieces right now. In your view, how did his work evolve in terms of what and how he documented life and those religious themes?
I think what's most interesting about him in terms of his evolution, he was a formerly trained painter. He made paintings for the first part of his career. But then what he did is, whether it's religious themes, and you're actually seeing one of our religious works that we've placed in conversation with his religious works, or images of street scenes, is that he transitions to works on paper, and he makes lots and lots of prints. And what that means for him is that he could give art to people, right? When you make an oil painting, there's one oil painting, one person can, or one institution can own it. But when you make works on paper, whether it's church bulletins, prints, these hand bound books, he was able to put art directly in the hands of the community that he loved the most.
Right, you can reach everyone, right? So, how are the stories he told through his work, in your mind, relevant in this moment, in this time of division, polarization, as we're seeing now?
Mr. Crite was not just a great artist, he was a great mentor, you heard in his own words, storyteller and community gatherer. And I think that role that he played in cultivating community is really what makes him so important today. It was a joy to work with people who knew him, loved him, were mentored by him, to share that story, and his ability to bring people together, his open mind to hang out with everyone from punk rocker kids to, church-going grandmas, and everyone was welcomed in his home and came together to discuss there. He's a model for our time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that he had a long relationship with the Gardner Museum. What do you see as his legacy?
I see generosity really as his legacy. When we started out on this project over 3 years ago now, it was really about how to create an exhibition that was as generous as he was. So we have voices of many people, many different artists, community members included in the show. And we hope that people come out of this experience maybe emulating him a little bit, to be as generous, to be as open, to be as interested in documenting community as he was.
Beautifully said. I got to ask you, Diana, because I know you poured through so many beautiful pieces here, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Which one for you is the one that really, moves you the most?
Oh, always a hard question. But I really love, I think I saw it in the images before, the choir singer. It's a view from a balcony of a man singing at a church service. And it's such an interesting view where you kind of are looking down onto people worshiping. It belongs to a local church. We were very happy to conserve it for them as part of this exhibition. And I think that's the one that it hits me every time.
I love that. And, for folks who come down and get to see this exhibition, what do you want them to take away the most when they leave?
When they leave, I hope they'll go out into the world with kind of a renewed awe for their communities, for what they see in the neighborhoods around them, and maybe find that little bit of the divine that Crite would have seen if he were walking alongside them.
I love that. Diana Greenwald, thank you so much for joining us today, one of the co-curators on this exhibition. Thank you once again for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, the exhibition at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum runs through January 19th. You have time to go check it out. And Alan Rowan Crite, right of Boston, which showcases a different aspect of his career, is on exhibit at the Boston Athenaeum through January 24th.